Hey, what's up, you guys? Wyattxhim here, and today I'm honored to do a album review of this little masterpiece, the newest Ghost Bath Moonlover. I got the collector's edition digipack, and whoever mailed me this, yeah, you should be fired because a lot of it's wrinkled up right here in the creases. It's not like perfectly straight. It's a little bent, and all this is like all cracked up in there. See, it's like people don't know how to do their fucking jobs. But besides that, getting back to it, the album review of this. So Ghostbath is a suicidal, depressing black metal band, and for the beginning of their career, they kind of fooled everyone into thinking they were a Chinese black metal band because of the fact that they put their names in Chinese symbols and Chinese lettering. And just recently, over the release of this album, they have announced they're actually from Minot, North Dakota. So yeah, this is actually an American band, and this is their second release. Over the last year, they've released one EP, and this one now being their second album. And what can I say about these guys? They bring a really much more, believe it or not, an uplifting type of feel to depressing suicidal black metal, which to a lot of people seems impossible, considering the fact that, the two words I just said in the subgenre make it sound impossible enough. How can you have something that's supposed to be depressing and suicidal be uplifting? And I'll get to that in a little bit why it works so perfectly for them. But yeah, they've done a little bit of tweaks and adjustments that have, you know, angered a few, but have really impressed the many. And one little tweak that they've done is the production on this. The production on this is a lot more cleaner and something that I don't feel like a lot of depressing suicidal black metal fans are used to. When we talk about depressing suicidal black metal, like for example Forgotten Tomb or Silencer, we think of a really harsh production that has no clean edges or soft edges to it, and it's just rough throughout. This one has a much more cleaner side to it that I feel like no one's used to, even me. And it caught a lot of people by surprise, including me as well. Another thing about this production, the drums really feel thick and heavy compared to most, you know, black metal being having a much more raspier sound. This one's just really clean and thick and heavy, which is what I like about it a lot. Even the guitars too in this are really stylish and a little flashy too, which is another thing that depressing suicidal black metal never has. But anyway, getting into this now, that's just the production. Now the overall length is around 42 minutes long, and yeah, how can I start this off? I'll just go from track to track in this because I really haven't done an album review in quite some time. The first track, called "The Sleeping Fields," is basically just a piano synth uh, opening, which really ties in with the whole album, and I'll get to that in a second how it does, and it's really cool how it works like that. But the second track, I'm sorry, that really just caught my ear and made me want to listen to this for hours on end was Golden Number. This one is the definition of what uplifting, depressing, suicidal black metal sounds like. One big thing is the fact that the whole instrumentals alone feel happy. They feel uplifting. They feel like they don't have such a gloomy and dark, depressing sound to them. This sounds like something out of just a melodic band in general, a melodic metal band in general, not just, black metal. And the riffs are extremely melodic too, which makes it give you that a more happier side that you would hear in melodic music. This has it, and it's something that's just really unexpected to a lot of fans, and I loved it the moment I heard it. The guitar riffs on this are catchy. The vocals in this, though, throughout the whole album, is way more distant too, which makes it arguably almost a instrumental album just in general, with just really no vocals to hear. It's just a lot more distant. You can't really make out any lyrics, but that's nothing new in depressing suicidal black metal. But it's 10 times harder now that the vocals feel distant. But I don't know, I kind of like it like that. Really focus more on the instrumentals than just the agonizing shrieks that this guy really executes to perfection, in my opinion, considering this style of music that a lot of people at first listen aren't really big fans of it, which is understandable. It's very different from any other style of music out there. But yeah, I thought he executed the vocals perfectly throughout, including especially on this track. Now the third track, Happy House, has a more traditional depressing suicidal black metal sound to it. It's a lot more gloomier, it's a lot more darker, it feels like this guy's going through some type of depression that is really hard to explain. It feels like, he's had some loss in his life. It feels like someone in his life may have passed away or something like that. And that's just a rough guess by me, and a really, I would consider an educated guess, because the name Ghost Bath, not the band, just the name, the expression alone, Ghost Bath refers to the act of committing suicide by submerging in a body of water, basically drowning yourself, alright? So someone or himself must have done that, or must have felt like he needed to do that. So that's why I feel like this track is the depressing track to give it the whole backstory, if you can ever make out the lyrics. I feel like that's really what this track really is. It's a much more darker and gloomier side too. This whole album too feels like it's trying to tell a story, not by the vocals, but by the instrumentals in this. I feel like this album, you know, really gives more emotion, not by the vocals, but by the instrumentals. The whole Golden Number has that more uplifting sound where it's like he's enjoying life by, just listening to those instrumentals, where it's just more flashier and melodic and really clean and powerful and just happy sounding. Where as we get to the next track with Happy House, like I said, it gets just way more depressing, or like more depressing. Like he was doing great in life with track 2, Golden Number, and then all of a sudden he lost something, and that's what led to this more depressing sound that I just feel like they're telling the story by. That's just my rough guess. For all I know, it's just track to track to track how they look at it, but that's how I kind of look at it. Now, track number four, which is Beneath the Shade Tree, it's just a regular instrumental track that's really elegant sounding and really lightly played, as the whole instrumentals has a more softer sound to it. There's no vocals in this one, it's just a straight up instrumental track, and it just feels kind of relaxing almost in a way. Like it literally, like being beneath the shade tree is relaxing, just like this track is relaxing. So it kind of worked out for that way, how I look at it. Now, track number 5 and 6 are basically just one track splitted, which is the Silver Flower Part 1, which is track 5, and Part 2, which is track 6. Now, Part 1 just kind of carries on with the whole instrumental vibe that I was going through with the previous track, which was Beneath the Shade Tree. Now, this track 5 and 4, as good as they are being lightly played, given a more elegant vibe, the only complaint I have with it, and it's not really a big one, is I feel like they kind of dragged on a little bit with it. Not that it's terrible, but I just felt like they kind of just dragged it on just a minute or two too much, but still played to perfection how I look at it with the style they were playing, and I really did enjoy it. Number 6, track number 6, which is the Silver Flower Part 2, starts off with, which is something that I never thought I would hear in depressing black metal, which is a breakdown. Now this breakdown, unlike most deathcore or death metal, when they do it, it's more aggression or pissed off at the world type of feel. This one has a much more darker and much more atmospheric sound to it that just echoes with everything that goes on, from the vocals to the instrumentals, that I just loved it. I fell in love with this breakdown, and that's something I don't say a lot because I really don't like breakdowns. But this one just had a much more atmospheric vibe to it, making it echo and just making it, just consume the listener in this really gloomy sound of loss and depression that I felt like they really did well again. And then after this track, that track, the Silver Flower Part 2, which is another great track, it's the last track, which is Death and the Maiden, which once again has a way more melodic sound to it, like the previous track, which was Golden Number. This one has a much more melodic and happier sound to it, which also makes me think now, is this whole album kind of in a way the patterns of depression, going from happy to depressed and full of loss, to continuing that loss and just continuously going through all this loss and depression to finally be happy again by living your life, or just the depression ends by doing something. I feel like this is what this album is. It's not just a mix and match of happy to sad. It's kind of the emotions you get out of depression. You kind of then feel like you've gotten out of depression by faking your happiness, like a Golden Number. Then you just get right back into it and it consumes you again with the rest of the album. But then you finally break out of it, which is the Death and the Maiden, which you're happy again. I don't know, this is just my guess is how I'm kind of looking at this album. But yeah, once again, it has a much more melodic sound to it. It soars and it's vast, and it's one of my favorite tracks. My favorite track is Golden Number, hands down. But how this album all ties together is that, like I said in the beginning, the intro, The Sleeping Fields, it has that piano and a little instrumental acoustic guitar melody in it in the beginning. And then when you end it on track 7 right here, it starts that same piano and guitar melody at the end. And kind of when you have it on replay on the CD, it kind of just connects all together again, the beginning to the end, which makes me feel like maybe this album, like I said previously, is about the sways back and forth of depression, from happy to sad, to faking you're happy, to going back to being depressed, to being happy again, to kind of convincing yourself you're happy, to just accepting the fact that you're depressed, and it just continuously moves in a circle like that emotion. That's just my guess out of it. That's how I interpret this whole album. But overall, I love this album. It's still my favorite album of the year, and even though we're almost halfway through it this year, this still stands as album of the year to me. But we still got another 8 more months to go, so we'll see. But my overall rating for this is a 97 out of 100. Like I said, the only thing I didn't like is that it kind of drags on towards the middle of the album for a minute or two, but it's nothing too terrible, or bad, I should say. And it's still passed to me, that whole little drag on, but still fantastic album. I can't recommend it enough if you love black metal. And yeah, that's all I gotta say about it, which I know is a lot for the past 13 minutes. But anyway, guys, check it out. I guarantee you'll love it. Then come back and comment below and let me know what you thought about it. Love hearing your opinions, so comment back to us as soon as possible. Thanks, guys, for watching and subscribing. You guys are the best. Thanks for supporting me, and keep it metal.